Welcome back. Nate here,
Yeah.
Christian here, fellow travelers here.
Yes.
Episode 4 review. I need an air horn. Brr, 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 brr.
Wait, it doesn't have an
Get
air
hype.
horn?
That probably is. Wait a minute. Now that you say that, hold on. Yep, wait.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gonna put a little mood music on.
Oh, thank you. Oh, you want the mood music? That seems
Yeah.
inappropriate, but I'll put
Mhm.
some music on. All right. So, episode 4. A lot happened in this episode.
A lot, yeah.
Um yes, where to even start? I guess yeah, I know we started talking very soon because we saw that what is the guy's name? So Marcus and
Yeah, I don't
Pooh.
know what his
We need
name
someone tell us his name. I feel bad about that. You know what? Let me just look it up real quick because I don't want to keep saying the
The
guy
guy.
or the drag queen,
The
right?
drag
Like,
queen. Yeah. I mean, also the drag queen name would be great.
well, that's what I'm talking about. Like his name. Okay, Frankie.
Frankie, okay.
Frankie is his name. Okay, got it. Yes.
But
So we saw Marcus and Frankie were together.
do we know what Frankie's drag queen name is?
Oh, the drag queen name.
Yeah.
I did not find that. No.
Oh, well, whatever. They
Although
might
it
have.
might be Frankie. I don't know. I'm not sure because Frankie could be, either way. I don't
I
know.
guess that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, hard to say. But yes,
Anywho.
so we saw Marcus and Frankie together
Yeah.
in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And Nate, you were
That was
very happy about
exciting.
that. Yes.
Very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for multiple reasons. But
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be, as you mentioned, it'll be a good way to compare and contrast what Marcus and Frankie went through and how
Mhm.
they ended up versus Tim and Hawk.
Yeah.
Because whether for reasons of society or career, it just didn't work out for Tim and Hawk in the end.
Yeah.
One thing that I know I was curious about, and it makes me still wonder about. So Lucy, who ends up being Hawk's wife,
Yeah.
I was curious what arrangement they had, right? Like, yes, you got married, but like, what was the understanding of what this is? In the beginning at least. Um,
You're saying after they got married? Because before they got married, I think she really thinks that he's into her.
that's
Which is
I'm still not
sad.
sure, right? Like, I don't. It seems like maybe, but I don't know, right? Um, so yeah, so I'm wondering. Yes, you mentioned like it being on his arm, right? And is that
Mhm.
because it it feels good, right, to walk in with this nice looking man and people look at you all together? Like, there's some degree where that just feels good.
Right.
You walk
Yeah.
into a room like this,
Mm-hmm.
him on your arm, and people look at you like, oh, y'all are it, like y'all are the couple, like that
Mm-hmm.
feels good, even if like that's not the case. I don't know.
Right.
Because I'm curious. I'm really curious about that, just because we see in the future that she and
Understand.
Tim are not friends.
Right. Yeah.
They're cordial to each other on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like there's ever a friendship. So to me, that indicates that it was never really okay with her, the whole situation.
Yeah. So this is my thinking. My thinking is that she thought he was in love with her. Right. So I think that before the marriage, probably kind of drifted into the marriage, but then she probably started realizing who he was, which is inevitable, right? You can't hide that for long. She probably started realizing who he was, and maybe just kind of hoping that he would kind of change and actually really be in love with her, and stuff like that. I mean, he did give her some babies, so he was able to do the thing, right?
Right.
Maybe
We
she
see how
thought
he's
to
able to
herself,
to use his mind to do different
yeah,
things with the lie detector. So
exactly, exactly.
maybe he was
Like,
doing that and thinking of Tim. Who knows what he was doing?
maybe. Or maybe, yeah. I mean, that has to be the thing, because I was thinking, oh, he could be bi, but I think that one scene where he was training himself,
Right.
signified he was not.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be interested
He's
in
not
that at
interested in
all.
women at all. No, which
And
is super sad too, because this poor guy. I mean, this poor woman. Okay, Hawk. Okay, yeah, or whatever. But this poor woman, she's sitting here thinking she is marrying maybe the love of her life or something like that. Her best friend, because they were childhood friends or
right.
whatever. Dude, like, can you imagine that? That's some shady stuff.
Yeah.
And do you think Tim was jealous of her? Yeah, Tim.
I don't think he's jealous of her specifically. I think he's jealous of what she has.
Maybe, yeah.
Right? Like
Mhm.
she's able to be married to him and have this life that he
Mhm.
would want to have.
Right.
I feel like he probably doesn't have any ill will towards her for that
Right.
necessarily, right?
Mhm.
Like or like she thinks she's with like I didn't sense like animosity between them, but I can
Yeah.
imagine he always wanted that
Right.
and she has it, and not because like she earned it necessarily,
Right.
because
And not because he chose her either.
it's
You know.
convenient for Hawk to do this, and so that's why
Precisely.
he did it. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, I didn't sense jealousy, but I knowing him, I would imagine he's very much hurt that it's not him.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and thinks it should have been him. Um,
And it probably should have been.
yeah. I am very curious to also see what happens or how Marcus and Frankie progress. Because he did just take this job at the Washington Post, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't know. Do you end up being like, you know, a reporter for them out west, or do you go work for some West Coast newspaper that's maybe more accommodating? You know, because the West, in many ways, is less segregated and less, you know,
Yeah.
not. It wasn't like it was not at all,
No,
but
no.
definitely much
It was far
less,
more
just because of
progressive. Yep.
who went out there. You know,
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, curious to kind of see that progression and that path if they show it to us. I hope they show it to us.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about their like, what's his name? I mean, Frankie isn't like isn't the kind of the main character in that story. It's really Marcus, and
Right.
because they showed the demons that he has to fight himself. You know, so yeah, he's fighting this whole racial segregation thing, but also he seems to be fighting something else towards being actually gay, sort of thing. Um, so yeah, they're probably really going to develop more on that than it does. It seems like Frankie is one of those people who fights for his relationship, but it's not like desperately.
Oh
Like
yeah, no.
he's like, I'm worth having, sort of thing, and I'll fight for you, but you're gonna need to come get me, sort
Absolutely.
of
Yeah,
thing.
he's not like he's not a Roy Cohn.
No, yeah.
He's like, I mean, I ain't trying to blow up my life for
Right,
you, and
exactly.
you're not doing anything for me, right? You're
Yeah,
just asking for
exactly.
me. You're not doing. Okay, well,
Right.
bye. Like I don't
Right,
need this.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you come talk to me when you got your head on straight.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
like
yeah, and I love that confidence, so that's rare, and that's also one of the things that was just so exciting to see, because the, at the very very beginning of the show, now I know where they end up,
Yeah.
and granted it's not the end of their story, but at least I know that through this entire time somehow they made it work, and he is still just as sassy,
Mm-hmm.
but they appear to be like really caring for each other.
Right.
They really seem to be in love with each other. So
And we don't know if they got actually married or not, but we at least
probably
do
not
see
by
that
this
they
time.
at least have a place together, right? Like
Right.
that's their place,
Right. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that
Yeah.
was
I
nice to
also
see.
didn't know that like at the very first episode, I guess maybe I should have, because he did bring a note from Tim to Hawk, but I didn't realize that he was actually in San Francisco.
Yeah, that has slipped my mind as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. One thing I will just say,
Mm.
since we're talking about the episode, is I feel like the future versions of them
Mm-hmm.
all age pretty real. Like it looks realistic.
Yeah.
Marcus did not. To
What do you
me, he
mean?
looked kind of ridiculous. His facial hair looked kind
With
of
the
ridiculous to
afro?
me. Yeah, the
What?
face and the facial hair. It looked like he was wearing a costume to look older to
Oh,
me. I was like,
well, I
okay.
think in the first, are you talking about this specific episode?
Yes, and I can't remember what he looked like earlier on, but I feel like I probably felt the same way then and just didn't mention it. But this outside again, I was like, this dude looks
Now
ridiculous.
I don't
Now that I've seen
recall.
Hawk and Tim so many times, and then
Mm-hmm.
seeing Frankie, right? Like, they all look like okay, they're older,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks realistic. I
Mm-hmm.
guess somehow that facial hair they used on his face to me just kind of pulled me out of it a bit. I was like, oh,
Mm.
okay, so I'm watching actors, and this guy is acting, and this is fake hair. Like it was just to
Yeah,
me,
I
it
guess I
just
didn't
didn't
think about that, but now that you
seem.
mention it, I'm trying to see if it looks like, because his past hair looked legit, because he had the finger waves and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know about his future self.
Yeah, it's mostly
I'll
the
have to
facial
look
hair
at
that I
that next
noticed, but
episode.
I
Yeah,
don't want to cause you to nitpick it, but I was
yeah,
like,
it's all good.
looks a little off.
It's all good. So, how do you feel about the whole Cohen David situation we developed on that?
I am so annoyed with them,
Yeah, well,
beyond annoyed. Like it's just like one, I'm mad at them because they're making me feel sympathy for McCarthy in some ways. 'Cause I'm like, he gotta deal with these knuckleheads. Like,
yeah.
what are y'all like? You're not even about the cause.
Hmm.
Like, get out of here.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, he should have fired them.
Yeah. He
And
should
I
have,
don't
to be
know.
honest.
Yeah, I'm curious why he did not. I hope they show us like what was your loyalty to them,
Right.
because they're messing up.
Yeah.
Like they're putting everything in jeopardy. Now you're getting called in.
Right.
You could lose your Senate seat. Like they're less important than you, and
Right.
they're messing up what you're trying to do and your career.
But the problem is also he's got stuff to hide as well, So like, it is amazing that he didn't let them go, and it is amazing also that McCarthy is so sure of himself, Like, I don't know. Anyways,
Yeah,
yeah,
those two. Yeah, and it's interesting to me to get more insight into the David and Roy like dynamic. Because again, I mentioned in the other video how at first it just seemed like, oh, they're just being Roy was just being spoiled, and so he was just asking for these things for David, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the more you look at it, the more you're like, no, David is spoiled
He is spoiled,
completely.
yes. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And Roy is scared to not give him what he wants because he might leave him.
Right. Yeah.
I don't even think it's like I'll miss him necessarily. Like
There,
it
yeah.
seems more like I'm afraid of losing him, like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be alone and I can't take that. So whatever he wants, I have to do.
Yeah.
Everybody
I
else
mean,
can burn.
people have those types of relationships, which is
Yeah.
absolutely weird. But they have a
It's
short
yeah,
shelf life.
and it's so sad to see. Like when I see someone in that type of relationship, it just makes me so sad
Yeah.
because you don't want to be mad at them for it.
Right.
The person that's doing all like the Roy in the relationship, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't want to be mad at them,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you're letting this happen to you,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, do you not see like what you're doing to your life for the sake of this person that doesn't really even care about you?
So I want to actually put a pin right there. Pause it right there, because this is a very interesting concept, and not just in relationships, just in life in general. Humans' inability to see past their circumstance, right, causes them to make some of the most ridiculous decisions in their life. Okay. Because we don't have all the information, right? So we're technically, if you're in your right mind, making the best decision with the information that you have here, right? The problem is, because we have a lack of information, most of the time it seems, and I think this is the case in this scenario, that you're going to make a decision based on fear, right? Rather than a decision based on belief, or believing that actually things will work out. better for you in the end if you make like the reasonable decision, right? So in this situation, excuse me, I think that we don't know, right? But it seems like he's afraid to lose David, right? Why are you afraid to lose him, right? So he's probably got some emotion caught up in there and stuff like that. But are you unable to see that actually this isn't the end of the road if somehow you two don't make it together, right?
Yeah.
You can pull through this, and you probably will pull through this, especially if you're forced to do it. You probably will pull through it, right? And further down the line, either maybe you two will get together again, or something else better will happen, right? But a lack of that type of information of assurity and stuff like that, even if you do have assurity, even if humans do have this assurance that things will work out, they can still make what I would consider a stupid decision,
Yeah.
right?
And I think on top of that, it's also this need for it to work out, right? Like not
Yeah.
being okay with yourself. Meaning, like if Roy was perfectly fine being single and by himself,
Mm-hmm.
and David was simply adding to that,
Mm-hmm.
then losing David, while hurtful, is not going to like ruin me, right?
Right. Yeah.
But like the
Yes.
fact that I don't feel good about myself,
Right.
I need this person to make me feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
Losing them is not simply just losing the person, right?
Right.
It's
Mm-hmm. It's
it's
losing
so much more dramatic, and
validation. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's not even about, to me it's even beyond like, oh, I can't even foresee maybe it'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I refuse to do anything
Yeah.
to put it in jeopardy.
Right.
Period. Well,
Yeah.
my wife has told me plenty of times. She's like, I love you to death. She's like, I'll
Mm-hmm.
do anything for you.
Yeah.
But if I have to do this without you,
Mm-hmm.
I'll be okay. If I have to walk away, like I'm gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
It won't feel good.
Right. Yeah.
It's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
It's gonna be terrible. She's like, it'll be rough.
Right.
But I'm gonna be okay, and I'm gonna do what needs to be done if I have to do that. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it is, right?
Yeah. But that's
It-
legit.
Yeah, and if you're not in that place, then it
Mhm.
leads you to do these things. I mean, I've been there. You've seen me there, right? That's like, I can't lose the person, so I'm doing things outside of what I would normally do, and things that I don't make any sense,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Risky things, like just putting my whole life at risk, not life as in but like livelihood, future, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
At risk for the person,
Right.
but the person isn't doing that for me.
Mm-hmm.
So why am I doing that?
Yeah.
Right. Doesn't make sense.
That's absolutely true. Like people, like I tell people. So I cringe usually when someone's like, I'm in a relationship, and I cringe even harder when they say they get married, right? For multiple different reasons. But one of the major reasons is, are you okay being by yourself, right? I told Liam this before we got married. I was like, listen, I am happy. I was depressed, but I was a happy person. Like I could be on my own. I could do my own thing. I didn't need someone else, right? And I told him, if I'm marrying somebody or if I'm dating somebody, it is because they add to my happiness. It is not because they make me happy, right? So yeah, they can add to it. Like it can be a supplement and exponential even, but at the end of the day, if something happens, or even if they leave me, or if they pass away or something like that, I have to be able to go on, and do the things that need to be done. And a lot of people that I see, get into relationships are like, I need to be in a relationship. That is a problem. No, you don't.
Yeah.
You
Right.
do. It's helpful. Quite
Yeah.
often, it's helpful to be in a relationship, and it's more fun sometimes, depending on the person, the people, whatever. It can be more fun being in a relationship, but you do not need to be. And I kind of feel like, according to the way the Bible was written, I kind of feel like that's what happened to Adam, and that's how we fell into this situation in the first place.
It's funny you mention that, because yesterday the
Mm.
sermon was about being single and about,
Oh.
hey, being single is perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
Being in a relationship is fine.
Yeah.
Either way is
Mhm.
fine. What's
Right.
important is you being the right person.
Yeah.
Not the person for
No, no,
somebody.
no. Nope. Yep.
You being the person you're supposed to be,
Right.
right? And if it happens to be a single person, cool. Happens to be someone that's going to end up being with somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
that's cool too.
Right.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's all fine. It's fine. You don't
Yeah.
have to go find somebody, right?
Yeah.
Because this urge to like, oh, I must be with someone, like
Yeah.
causes all kind of stuff. People getting married that shouldn't
Chaos.
be married with
Yep.
just like accepting things you shouldn't accept. Like, hey, look, be fine being yourself. Be fine being single.
Mm-hmm.
It's single's fine,
Yeah.
especially if you enjoy it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're good being single and you're selfish in many
Mm-hmm.
ways, like
Yeah.
stay single. It's
Right.
fine. But like to
Yeah.
force that person to be in a relationship, which
Mm-hmm.
is something I kind of feel a little bit about Hawk in some ways. Now I think we're seeing some softer side of him,
Mm-hmm.
but in
Yeah.
some ways he seems like very much a single person,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's much more comfortable being single, having his freedom,
Right.
and someone that he has access to fill those needs when he has them. But mostly, I like being my own person,
Right.
right? Seems like, you know,
Yeah.
hard to say because he's never really let himself be himself
Yeah. We haven't seen
fully,
that. Yeah.
you know, so
Mhm.
I don't know if part of this is like a protection mechanism for
Right.
himself.
Yeah.
But he strikes me as like single person that
Yeah.
Tim doesn't want, that Tim wants to be relationship person.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yep.
that's just a bad dynamic there. You know, that's just people are gonna have hurt feelings. I
Mhm.
remember, you know, in a lot of ways, I am very much a single person.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely I'm
Same.
a single person when I am single.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by
Yeah.
that I mean, you know, back in the day, and this, you know, tell me if I'm sure I was wrong in some ways the way I did this, but if I'm single,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter what you and I are doing,
Mm-hmm.
what we participate in. If I'm single, that means
Mhm.
I am single. And
Yeah.
single
So.
means I am free to do as I like,
Oh, definitely.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I call you, if I don't call you, if I see you tomorrow, if I
Oh.
don't see you tomorrow, right? Like those things
Yeah.
I'm free to do
Mm-hmm.
because I am single.
Yeah.
And this has been established.
Mm-hmm.
We can hang out, have a good time for 3 or 4 days. That's awesome. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean I'm not single anymore
Yeah.
because we've established I'm single. Now, when I'm
Yeah.
not
But
single,
people have an issue
cool.
with that, right?
Yeah, if I say we're together,
Mm-hmm.
the expectations occur, which
Right.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't say we're together and I tell you that
Mm-hmm.
and we've agreed to that, that's what it is.
But people have an issue with that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, when it comes to like marriage, you know, people think, you know, they have this like social construct, social thought process of how this should be. So even if you don't, even if you're not like, you haven't made it official that you're dating or something like that, they think that you can't see other people, right? There's like this huge thing of like that show Friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Ross and
Oh, they were on a break.
Rachel were on a break, yeah, and
The
they
biggest
made
thing.
such a huge issue out of it, such a huge
It was a
issue,
huge thing.
and like people still talk about it to this day,
Yep.
right? And I don't see the issue, right? Ross was like, we were on a break. I'm like, well, if they were on a break, that's it. You know, where is the issue at? But there's such a divide between people, and so yeah, they have this social idea of what this, you know, means, what marriage means. So for example, now I've told you my private life going on here, but I'm not afraid to share it. Like, my husband is going. He is, before he even met me, he's wanted to live in Sweden, right? And we got together, and then, you know, we got married, and then we stayed in France or whatever. And he tried a couple times to go move to Sweden, but he didn't have the chance. Things didn't work out, right? So this is his current situation where he was like, I'm doing it. Like, I'm going to, you know, Sweden. I was like, do it. Let's do it. Let's fix this, you know, because we bought a house. So I was like, let's figure out how we're going to do this, you know, with what we're going to do with the house. Go to Sweden, make that happen, right? And I was like, on my side, I will go to Switzerland so that I can support you, like, financially. And then we will figure out how to, you know, how to see each other and stuff like that, blah, 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 right? And I was talking to my brother about it, and he was like, he asked me, and I really love talking to my brother because he asks the questions, obviously, that everyone else is asking, but he asks with an open mind. Like, he's like, So tell me what your thought process is. And he asked me if it was weird, and I said I do understand the concept that people bring up, that it's weird, just because it is a social thing. People think once you get married, you are joined at the hip. You can't do anything without the other person. Like it's whatever. So you are you are like intentionally creating a long distance relationship, like not like circumstances prevent it from being a long distance relationship, whatever. And I said, so I do recognize that. I recognize it, but uh I am of the wholehearted belief that any type of relationship should not prevent you from doing the things that from continuing your life. And I told him, I was like, you had a relationship. I mean, he had a life before he met me. Then he met me. We have our life together. He needs to continue to have a life, to explore, to do these things. And some of those things I'm not going to want to do with him, right? I'm not going to stop him from doing it, right? So it's like this. And so I told him, I understand. It doesn't feel weird. Um, it's just it just feels strange because it's a long distance relationship. That's really the biggest issue that you know. And I'm just like, we'll just have to figure out how to make it work. Other people have made it work, so it works. Like you gotta figure out where your comfort zone is, and you have to talk about it, open yourself up,
Yeah.
and and communicate and stuff like that, which is what we're doing. So back to your point about like if we're single, single, I feel like the issue is that people have just like these preconceived ideas of how people should act together or
Mhm.
whatever, and I don't think that should be a burden placed on me. I'm in your court. If we're single, I can do whatever that I want to.
Yeah.
As long as I'm not like hurting you, actively hurting
Right.
you,
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want to because I haven't made a that specific commitment
Yeah.
to you. So
Exactly.
I can see whomever I want to. I can decide to call you or not call you in whatever the situation. I agree. I
Right.
prefer to keep the communication open still. Like
Right.
if we are flirting, talking, and stuff like that, and I want that to continue going. Yeah, I still like to continue to engage in it, but without any explicit without any explicit kind of commitment. I, there's no conversation here.
Yeah.
There's no.
And everyone has to be open, right? Like if that's not okay with you,
Mm-hmm.
then you tell me that,
Yeah, right,
and then you set your boundary.
right.
You
Mm-hmm.
you're free to say, "Hey, look, if we're single, that means we do this, 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 and not this, this, and this." If that's your boundary,
Mm-hmm.
now it's back on me. I'm
Right.
respecting your boundary,
Yep.
and if I think I don't like that boundary, I got a decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
Am I still single or not?
Right.
Hey,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's how it works. It's not,
Yeah.
oh, because I'm scared this person's gonna leave, let me ease my boundary. No, my
Yep.
boundary is this.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, it's me and my wife. Like we had several times like that where we were friends,
Mm-hmm.
and earlier on, she kind of mentioned dating, and I was like, I'm not really sure I want to do that. She was like, okay, cool. Like, so you don't want to date? That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So you've chosen X package, right?
Right.
That's how that was. She was like, so you've chosen a friend package.
Right.
Friend package includes these things.
Yeah.
Cool. And I was like, cool. So, hey, but like that's what it is, right? Hey, look, like we have a discussion. Hey, look, like it's fine. No one's mad at each other. Like
Mhm.
we talked about it. Hey, that's what this is. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Proceed forward. When you're ready to have something else, you let
Mhm.
me know.
Right.
Until then, this is what the boundaries are.
Yeah, and that's
Cool.
that's one of the biggest issues as well, is that people are afraid that I already mentioned that, but just afraid of the results of this.
Yeah.
Right. So they're afraid to talk about it. Sometimes in specific situations, people don't know how to talk about it. They've never been taught, educated, or they've never seen how to talk or openly communicate. And then they're afraid of the results. I usually, so the results do give me a little intrepidation, I guess is the term. Like they do make my heart beat a little faster. But I'm one of those type of people. Look, I'm diving head first. So especially if I'm afraid to do it, like not afraid, but I'm afraid of the results. Especially if that's a thing. Now I'm jumping into this because I need to know. I need to know what's going on before I can move further.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Otherwise,
Right.
if you refuse to talk to me, I'm going to go in the way that I just naturally go, and you can either follow or you just bye, sort of thing.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how much this is going to get into the actual episode, but to bring it back to the show, this is also why I hope, back to the show, that Hawkins told Lucy the truth before they got married, right?
Yeah, I
And
don't
even before
believe it.
even before they get engaged, right?
Mhm.
Because engaged to me, that's what we need to tell everything. Because
Yeah.
to me, between engaged and married is a planning period, right?
Yeah.
It's to me, it's not a decision period,
Yeah.
right? Like the decision is when you said yes
Right. Yeah.
to getting married. Now we're just planning things about a ceremony,
Mhm.
right? But we've basically said this is what we're gonna do.
Right. Yeah.
It's not I'll come today and I'll change my mind. That happens a lot in movies. I'm like, why are we doing this? Like,
Yeah.
if you didn't know, what do you say yes for? But
Right.
anyway, that's another tangent. But yeah, I hope we see Hawk like talk to her because she seems like a nice person. She seems like again she cares for him,
Mhm.
right? Like their friend, their family. Like she deserves the truth and she can make
Right.
a decision, right?
Mhm.
And I think sometimes I don't know if this is a Christian thing, but or just the nosy people thing or society thing, but we try to figure out, we see a couple,
Mhm.
they're married, man and woman.
Mhm.
Guy seems like, I got questions about him, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so we're trying to figure out, his situation. Is he
Right.
gay? Is he not? What's going on?
Mhm.
I think in some way because we're concerned that either she doesn't know
Mhm.
or he didn't tell her or whatever, right?
Right.
If that's their choice, then who cares?
Right.
Right? Like, but we always, I don't think we ever assume when we see that, oh, that was their intention.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't assume that. We assume, oh, somebody's lying to somebody.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's
Right?
my assumption.
Like,
I
yeah,
don't think he
like,
said something. So
I'm like,
yeah.
okay, sir. Okay. It's especially when I see these couples like in a Christian environment and he
Yeah.
seems like, and she
Yeah.
seems like, oh my, I'm like, okay, so you just
Yeah.
didn't tell her or what? Like what
Yeah.
are we doing? You're just using her just to cover up so you can
Yep.
still participate. I'm like, okay. But again,
Yeah.
like that's on me, right? Because
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
assuming they didn't have the conversation.
Right.
When very likely they said, hey, look, this is what it is. Um, we both still want family.
Mhm.
Are you okay with this? Yes.
Yeah,
Cool.
but
Have
she
at it.
doesn't seem like she is.
Right.
Like,
And
so it doesn't seem
that's
like.
that's where I'm going to be upset with him, right?
Yeah.
If he's not open and honest with her in the beginning, like, hey, look, I got these feelings. I'm gonna leave Tim alone, maybe.
Mhm.
I'm gonna leave the extras alone, or I'm gonna have extra guys on the side, yada yada.
Yeah.
You good with that?
Mhm. Which I'm pretty sure she wasn't.
Right, exactly. So then he's been sneaking around, which I don't appreciate that.
I'm pretty sure.
It's
Yeah. You're probably not gonna
especially
like him.
given he doesn't seem like he's used a lot of protection. Oh, I think he said he
Yeah.
does 4 times a year. He uses condoms, I guess, but
But that was
he's never passive.
That was the
Right,
recent thing.
exactly.
So.
So who knows what he's been doing? He
But
seems
and
pretty.
he's never passive so far. So
So he says. But I mean, we saw him be pretty, disturbed with that guy trying to rough him up a little bit.
Right, exactly.
I'm like, oh, all you can get, but you can't take it, huh? Oh, how the tables have turned. He's like, yeah, but no, I don't do that.
You just don't do it. He's a pure top.
He's like,
how they call it. So.
No, sir.
I was talking to this one guy who was like years ago, before I even met Liam, and I thought he could be a bottom. He was like, nope. He was like adamant no. I was like, my bad. Sorry, didn't mean to offend you. Just asking. But yeah, actually, it's interesting to your point. Like I was in the closet for a very long time, and I thought I was going to marry a woman. Thanks, Christianity. You suck. But eventually, but so obviously I didn't. But I had made up in my mind that if I did start dating a girl, I would actually tell her that I was gay. And let her know why I was planning on marrying her and seeing what her response was. Like if she thought, because obviously the thought what was being taught was that if you marry, you're gay, but you just need to marry, and you'll get out of it and stuff like that or whatever. But I was going to tell her that just because for the very exact reason I didn't want her to be shocked, I didn't want to hurt her. I wanted her to know everything up front so that she can make a very clear, intelligent decision. She could have made, she could have been like, I mean, intelligent, because it wouldn't have been intelligent to marry somebody, but to marry, to marry someone who is gay and who acknowledges that he's gay and not even bi, just gay.
I mean,
So
again, it also depends upon what you need, right? And being
yeah, yeah,
honest with
yeah.
that, like if
Mhm.
if you're not even big on marriage, but you want a family, you
Yeah.
want to spend life with your best friend, you want
Mhm.
some children, if that's
Right.
enough,
Hmm.
right? Okay, right? Because not everybody necessarily need or wants like the love thing necessarily,
Right.
right? They
Right.
might
Right.
people. I think we're talking about Hawk's mother, right? How she stayed
Hmm.
with the father because, like, that's convenient. Like
It
she
was her
got to,
thing.
yeah, she
Yep.
got to live her life, right?
Hmm.
She got the nice
Yep.
stuff, and whatever, like, fine,
Yeah.
made it through. Like, if that's good enough for you, cool. That's not good enough for everybody,
Hmm.
and I think everybody just need to recognize, like, and that's what is interesting about the show is seeing like how these people express what they need and how that interacts,
Yeah.
right? Because Tim very much needs to be, if he's with the person,
Hmm.
then he needs to be with the person,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He can't do this cloak
Right.
and dagger half thing, sneaking around, not really. No, I want to eat with you, dinner with you at the restaurant. Like, this is what I need, right?
Right. Yeah.
And Hawk is like, that's one out, he doesn't seem to need it.
Hmm.
He seems to like it,
Right.
at least the danger of it to a degree, seemingly a little bit. Like he seemed to kind of like a little bit that he was pretending he was his nephew. Like he seemed to kind of enjoy a little bit of the danger of that, seemingly.
Hmm.
Just the way he acts, he seems to be a little bit like he likes almost getting caught to a degree. A little bit,
Well, I mean,
some of
clearly
that.
because he's out cruising. It didn't
Right,
look like Tim was
exactly.
out cruising.
Yeah,
So
so like there's some of that, like we could get caught, like this is kind of fun.
yeah,
Um,
it's the whole taboo.
but yeah, I'll be curious to see how they keep progressing. Everyone hopefully expressing what they need,
Hmm.
and that kind of causing some of this rift and kind of unmet needs,
Hmm.
right? Because Hawk's like, I can't give you that. Tim's
Right.
like, well, fine,
Hmm.
right? But seems like there's been some interaction over the years,
Right.
but never really both of them really feeling fulfilled.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. Well,
So
we talked
what?
for a while.
Yeah, we did. Before we end this review, what would you rate this episode?
Yeah, I I really enjoyed. I think this is more of a 9 for me.
Mhm.
Because I enjoyed the story progression. I enjoyed kind of seeing what's happening with McCarthy and Roy and these people and kind of how that's happening. I enjoyed kind of some of the suspense of Hawk getting caught up and having to go do the lie detector. I'm
Mhm.
very curious to see what happens to that chick that ratted him out because she was so
Yes.
smug.
Oh my goodness.
And
Oh,
oh
I did
yeah, oh
not
you
like her
mean
from the
the
beginning.
book that he gave you? What
Yeah.
the first, which was stupid, Tim. But again, that's
Yeah.
that's
Like that's Tim.
that's Tim, right? That's
Yeah, he gotta.
that's who he is.
Yeah, he's
Which mean
faithful to
which
who he
which
is.
means you need to leave.
Right. Yeah.
You can't be here.
Right.
But yes, I hope to see kind of what happens to her.
Mm-hmm.
I think something should happen.
I think
I
so.
think just to kind of show, like, Hawk does have some power in this town, right?
Right.
I think he should be able to basically end her career.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
end her as a person, right? But I think her career should be dead. Well, he'd be like,
yeah.
had an unfortunate accident.
Right. I totally forgot about her, but yeah, I do not like her. She plays her part really well. So
she really did. She was so snooty.
just make me want to slap her. Just
right. Some people just don't like Hawk, successful, nice looking man. Some people just want to take that person down.
Yeah.
Period. Like
You think she's after Hawk? I don't know if she's
No, I
after
don't think
Hawk.
she's after him. I think she's
Oh,
want to take him down because he's nice looking, successful man. Like some
oh,
people just like they got too much going for them. Like I want to take them down a notch. Like they don't
that's so
deserve all
sad.
of this. You know,
'Cause
but
yeah,
like
people.
I'm sure you've seen it. Like it's just
Yeah, oh, I
like
have seen it.
yeah,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
oh, you think you're all that. You know, like you've heard like
No, I've seen it.
we've
I've
heard
seen
that.
it.
Like
It's
oh, you
stupid.
think you're all this,
It's
this, and this. I'm like, no, I just look, this is my life,
right.
right? Like I didn't choose to speak like this,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because you know how our people can be.
Yep.
You know, like, oh, you think you're da 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 da. Like, no, this is just my experience. This is just me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
But
sorry.
imagine spending all of that energy trying to take somebody down instead of spending all of that energy trying to build yourself
Yeah,
up.
because you feel bad about yourself, right?
Isn't that
It's again,
crazy?
it's a negative thing about yourself still, right? It's
Yeah, that's so crazy. Like I don't want
misplaced.
to. I spend energy building myself up and hopefully building up other people. Like, and that is what's the most. Anyways, whatever. Listen,
Yeah,
we're supposed to be rating this show.
I know. All right,
So
I
you
give it.
said
I give it a
9.
9. How about you,
I'm
sir?
I'm definitely giving it a 10. Another 10. This is
Oh,
another tenner because like it had me from the beginning, and I just keep thinking to myself, isn't even my genre. Like it's not something I really like, but it's done so. And you know, it's also painful to say, but like watching this in light of all of the criticism we were giving Percy Jackson, like it's like night and day. Like the writing is just so well done, you know, like the actors. I think the actors in Percy Jackson were pretty good, but you know, all of it to combine in Fellow Travelers is just I just love it. It's got me so I just want to continue watch. Like I just want to binge watch it, but I'm not going to because the show. But you know the channel. But like, it's just so good. Like all of it is just
give
so
me a
good.
quick
So
second
anyways,
here. Hold on.
what happened?
What's happening? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, now I hear you. Okay. Something happened in here, and things clicked, and all of a sudden I couldn't hear anything. So
Oh,
anyway,
well, I'll have to cut that
yes,
out.
all good.
But
Yes,
I usually don't edit these, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it's definitely a 10, and I'm happy with that. So
sweet. Well, folks, let us know what you think in the comments below.
yeah.
Did you like the episode? Do you like the progression of Marcus and Frankie? How about Tim and Hawkins? How about Lucy? Is Lucy the third wheel or is Tim the third wheel?
Yeah, I
I
think
don't know.
Lucy's a
I
third
don't know.
wheel. She shouldn't have
I
never
think so
been in the
too.
picture, to be honest. But
I
whatever.
think so.
Listen,
Yeah,
I ain't judging.
it
And what
happens.
about Roy and David? So,
Yes. What is that about?
I mean,
Ugh,
still, do they deserve to have their own kind of love
no,
story?
no. That's toxic. That's toxic and it's a mess, and
It is a
they don't
mess,
deserve
a hot mess.
anything.
But I mean, still, they could still work it out, like fix it. It doesn't
Yeah.
sound like they did,
Yeah.
obviously, but
I mean, we'll see
we'll see.
because, I mean, in that news thing, Roy was claiming, he's not a
That he was,
homosexual, da, 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 but, we'll see if
yeah,
they show us he goes home and is like, hey, honey,
yeah,
good evening.
yeah. We'll see.
I
So,
don't know. All right.
all right,
Well, folks, don't forget, like, subscribe,
and
and
comment
yes,
if you have
I
a
guess we'll see
comment.
y'all on the next one.
Ciao.
Later.